Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Forgotten Generation podcast with your host, Troy. With me today is a very amazing youth activist and IWOL ambassador, Mabrookah. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's so lovely to have this opportunity to be on this podcast. My name is Mabrookah. I am 15 years old from South Yorkshire and I've been an IWOL ambassador for over a year now.
Wow, so remarkable. And so, what is your youth social action?
I think this is always such a good question, but it's very hard for me to explain it. I think just youth voice. I take part in a lot of different things. So it's like all over the place. I'm part of this group, for example, Remy, which is a regional ethnic minority youth where we're talking about anti-racism. I'm part of Simca South Yorkshire Youth Mayoral Combined Authority. That's more about youth voice and working alongside the mayor of South Yorkshire to get our voices heard. And I take part in other stuff as well, but I think mainly just youth voice and getting my voice and other young people's voices heard alongside us tackling racism, for example, and just making youth social action as accessible to everyone as possible.
Oh, that's amazing. It's so amazing. You've done so many incredible things with your youth social action. And so, what does it mean to you? Because, like, youth social action, and what does it bring to you?
For me, youth social action, it just means a lot. It gives me an opportunity to obviously have my voice heard and actually be able to make a difference in my communities. I don't need to wait till I'm older to actually start doing something if I think there's something wrong going on. It's also helped me make so many friends, so many connections, which I would have never imagined. And it's given me a place to feel proud of who I am, as a lot of the time before I really got into youth social action, I was really insecure. And youth social action helped me build up my confidence so much, even taking part in speeches, for example, which I could have never imagined doing like 2 years ago.
That is so remarkable. Like, you literally had the confidence to and stand up for what you believe in and to have a voice and feel heard. And so, was there ever times where you felt you had like a barrier about you felt like you couldn't have a voice and that you felt you wasn't being listened to?
Oh, definitely. I'll give my school, for example. If it wasn't for my school, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have gone down the path that I did. I used to be part of all three leadership groups in my school. Like we had a eco group, well-being, and also a student council. But a lot of the time we'd go to the meetings, it'd just be like it was almost as if they were just doing it for the sake of like meeting up, but they would never take us seriously. It'd just be like, oh yeah, we'll look into it, but nothing would ever happen from it. So because of that, it made me find my local youth cabinet, and that's when I properly got into social action. I think what I went through in school, just feeling like no one was really listening to me, was a bit of a barrier because as well I felt because people in school were also making fun of me for taking part in these things. It wasn't good to feel like, oh, I'm being made fun of things, but I'm not actually getting anything done at the same time. So I think that was definitely hard, to be honest.
And absolutely hard, absolutely. It's very much hard, isn't it? Where you feel very much like the outsider trying to do something, but people don't appreciate what you do. And I think it's so moving on what you said actually, because it very much resonated with me really, feeling like I can't even have that and that voice. And that people might just look at me and be like, why is Troy doing this? And it's so good, Mabrookah, that you've said this. Other young people out there can actually know that it's okay to have a voice and you shouldn't be judged for what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, because it's the most ironic thing. It's you're trying to increase youth voice, but then a lot of the time, who are the same people making fun of it, it's actually young people when we should just be supporting each other to try and make the world better for all of us to be living in.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with you. Everyone should be able to like and be themselves and actually work together and not like and judge people for who they are. And it's just so empowering on what you said. And so, what are the issues that you think young people are facing right now?
Many we have a mental health crisis for one. I think one of the biggest issues. It's maybe because of COVID, I don't know, but so many people I know are suffering from mental health issues, and I don't think schools, for example, are not making it easier because at the end of the day, the harsh reality is that schools don't really care about you. It's more about you just need to pass so you look good for the school. You're just like a number to them. So they're
Hmm.
not going to go out of their way to make sure that they're going to like keep people well. Maybe if you go to them, for me, I went to school and they do have teams, but I don't think a lot of the time they're going to ever go and talk to that person, for example, who's just being quiet and has no friends, unless you go, which a lot of people aren't willing to do. It just makes it really hard for them, which is such a shame, to be honest, because the well-being team at my school has given me so much help. But if like school's not going out of the way to help those who need it, it doesn't help and make the young people feel more alone.
Ah, and so like it's so fascinating that you said that because you're saying that actually young people feel alone if they don't get support with mental health in schools, isn't what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time people don't want to go to school because they don't feel like school's gonna ever help them. And I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying before about like me being part of the council and that and they never been taking me seriously. I was very reluctant to go because I was like, okay, they didn't take my ideas seriously. Why are they going to like bother helping me? And people definitely see like just that they won't help. They might just, I don't know, they just don't think they're gonna do much to them. So
And
it
yes,
does.
you're feeling that they're not going to do much harm, yeah, because you're feeling they're not going to give you that support.
Yes, when a lot of the time it's not the case. And I've tried very hard to promote that in my school, but I don't think it's going to do anything because you can't really change how young people feel about this. So I think school just needs to make sure that like mental health and well-being is just like an all across school thing and make sure that they're trying to improve like mental health for everyone, not specifically for people who have gone to get that support because there's so many people who will never get that support who are struggling silently.
Exactly, and they should get that support, and they should be listened to, and they should be able to cater for the needs in schools as well, and they should be able to cater young people's needs and not let them um fail or feel escalated or feel just alone.
I think maybe another issue that young people face is probably, I guess, unity. I feel like a lot of young people are very like separated into like, I guess, different groups. It sounds really cliche, but I think just how it is. Racism, sexism, homophobia, Islamophobia, all of the like hatred has been, you thought it like as the years go on, like it would decrease, but it's actually becoming on a slow increase up. And it's especially with young people having so much hatred to just other young people for just simply being who they are, which is disgusting to be honest. But I think that's a very serious issue as well.
It is absolutely a serious issue, and it's so important that actually young people don't feel like unjudged about it. As like every young person should be equal, not just one young person. It's everybody together.
Yeah,
And I think it's a very serious issue that I think it's not raised as much in schools, is it? It's not been taught as much about unity
no,
in schools.
yeah, I can definitely say for my school, like I think they've literally stopped, for example, like when it comes to like, those awareness months, maybe they might do like one little thing, but for example, in October, we haven't had anything for about Black History Month or like anything about that since I was in year seven. Bear in mind, I'm in year 11 now, which is,
Wow.
we don't do much for Pride Month. I think we might do an odd like Holocaust one, but we just don't talk about a lot like hate crimes in school. Maybe because they just assume that young people don't have these ideas anymore. But I can definitely say, and I know you can say as well, that
Mm.
it's not the case. I can hear people in my classrooms joking about the Holocaust, making racist comments. And I'm sure teachers just can hear, but they just don't want to do anything about it because there's so much work for them to like file the reports and that kind of thing. So it just goes under the radar, and young people think it's okay to be doing stuff like that.
And I just think it's so important that for it's like taught in schools and Black History Month and what you said. And do you think like and schools and teachers and the teachers in charge need to like look into how we can make young people on benefit Black History Month and actually educate it in the whole curriculum?
Yes, I think so. I don't know if it's for a lot of schools, but maybe it's just mine because it's a predominantly like white school. But we don't talk about it a lot, to be honest. And I I can say for other schools with this that they do need to be spreading more awareness about racism, even if it's just my school not doing Black History Month. I know there's loads of accounts of people having racist incidents in school.
Absolutely, because I think it just needs to be tackled a bit more and more sensitively. And I think that teachers need to really teach it to make sure that young people know about this and know why it's so important. Black History Month and of course racism as well, and to teach it in schools.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I really do hope that our professionals listening to this can understand about racism and hope that it can educate young people about it. And so what do you want to say to professionals and organisations about the issues that young people face, and what do you want to see change in the next and decade?
I think just to listen to us, because I know, especially now with the rise of like youth social action, I know they like have to be having youth involvement, but they don't listen. They do it just for the sake of it. So I think just really just listen to what we have to say because we're not all the same. Like I get there's the stereotypes about young people being lazy, but that's not all young people. We all have different ability, skills, and you were a young person once, so why are you making it so much harder for young people to just get their voices heard when you literally were a young person like 20, 30 years ago, maybe 40, I don't know.
I honestly echo that because exactly, and there were young people before, and they shouldn't make it so hard for us to have our voice, and they should understand what we're talking about as we want to make a big change for our communities and the areas that we live in. But like, we need their support in order to do that.
Exactly.
And our voice matters, doesn't it? And young people should have the chance to make a change. And do you think that professionals are unfair about us young people and think we know best?
I think so. A lot of the time it's because they've lived so much longer than us, so we've had so much more experience than you, but like we've had different experiences to you. And even if we haven't had as much experience, they're unique. And I definitely think you should be taking that unique experience into hand because you've grown up in a different time. We've grown up, for example, with technology. You don't know what it's like to be born with like a phone shoved in your hand, for example.
Mm.
So listening to what we have to say should really matter, even if we haven't lived as long as you, made as much mistakes, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Like, and we should be sharing our lived experiences, but also working with the professionals and working with organisations that we work with, and also working with the government as well to come together and to like untackle the issues that we face. And so, what do you work with organisations, and what do you actually do with organisations, and what organisations are you part of, in fact?
I'm part of a lot, to be honest. Mainly because of my age and how I haven't really taken part in like for me, I wouldn't consider myself like well into social action fully yet. So I
Can I just
haven't
say you're
personally.
great? I can just say you're amazing at what you do.
Thank you. That really means a lot. So a lot of the stuff of the times when I've reached out to like change makers, it's been part of as a group. But I'm part of, like I mentioned before, Youth Cabinet. I will Simca, the South Yorkshire Youth Middle Combined Authority. Part of REMI, Regional Ethnic Minority Youth. That's for Yorkshire and the Humber. I'm part of Children's Capital of Culture. Rotherham next year is actually going to be the world's first children's capital of culture, so I'm helping um, decide what events are going on. It's very exciting, especially
Very
since it's like
exciting, isn't it?
so near. So I got in that role in like 2023. So it was just like, oh, it's a distant thing, but it's actually getting quite close now. I'm probably in more, but I just can't think of in the top of my head, if that makes sense.
I know it makes so much sense, but you like honestly, it sounds like you've done so many incredible things. Like you should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And all of them, I think, is so important. And I think you work so incredible hard to actually make a difference for young people.
Thank you. I think it's just always been about getting my voice heard, especially being Black and Muslim and female. I know that like intersectionality, I always talk about this a lot. I know that my voice, I'm normally a lot of the times in places, especially in my area, like the only like Black Muslim girl. Maybe if I'm not always the only Black person, I'm always like the only Black Muslim. So I know how important it is to make sure I'm getting my voice heard so I can be representing so many groups, Muslims, Black people, women. So yeah, that's why I think it's really important to do so.
Absolutely. It's so empowering you saying that. It really is. It just, I really honestly hope that and listeners listening in to this as young people can actually hear what you're saying because you're so empowering and you're so motivating and just so inspiring. And I really hope people have listened to your story in this episode and just can see the passion that you have.
I hope so because it means the world to me when I hear people say that they've started doing stuff because of me when they've seen stuff I've been doing. And I just want to be an inspiration for others so other people can be inspiration for others, like a chain effect, if you know what I mean. I definitely have those inspirations who I see as inspiring, who I aspire to be. So I just want to be like that for other people so they can be like that for other people.
Oh, you're just so incredible. You're so motivating. And so what would be your like advice to any young person who wants to take part in youth social action but doesn't know how to?
I think this is going to be very annoying, but just do it. I wish I had listened to people who told me this earlier that it doesn't have to be like this massive thing. Just start small. Just start being kind to people in your community. For example, when you see someone down the street, just say hello, just ask them how you're doing. In that, you're doing social action because you're helping increase the well-being of people in your community. That's something big. And then you can find, once you grow your confidence, maybe if that's the reason why you're struggling to start, you can find groups. But yeah, just start small. And then you can find like youth cabinets, other groups, maybe online groups as well. And that really is the best way to start. But just start, and you have started, to be honest.
Absolutely. I'll start now, and that's what we say here. Start now your journey of youth social action. And so what is a quote that you will sum up of your experience?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I'm gonna do the one that my mom told me when I was young, when I really started my social action, and that's to just let the social action spread and let it be a chain effect. Because I always say it all the time that if you do something good to one person, it encourages the next person to do something good, and you have started something like a chain reaction of goodness. And every time someone from that chain has done goodness, it's because of you.
Absolutely. So empowering, Mabrookah. Honestly, it's been so great to have you on this episode today and to really showcase your youth social action and just your journey and the issues that you think people are facing and just your empowering message just now.
Thank you. It's been amazing being part of this podcast today.
Please support the podcast by subscribing and rating the podcast. I'd love to hear what you like and what could be better for future episodes. If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram and I will .troy and also on X I will _Troy. Tune in to next week's episode.